The stark truth is that many elderly people won't see their 83rd birthday, and it's rarely for the reasons you'd expect. I'm Dr. Grace Miller, and after 3 decades of geriatric medicine, I've discovered that the real killers aren't heart disease or cancer. They're 10 critical mistakes that steal years from lives. The first mistake? Ignoring the subtle warning signs your body desperately sends. The first and most dangerous mistake I see destroying lives after 60 is dismissing early warning signs as simply getting old. This silent killer masquerades as acceptance, but it's actually resignation that costs lives. I can't tell you how many patients have sat across from my desk saying, "Well, doctor, I guess this is just what happens when you age." They wave off increasing fatigue, dismiss new aches, and ignore changes in their energy levels. What they don't realize is that their body is desperately trying to communicate something vital, and they're choosing not to listen. When an active person suddenly finds themselves exhausted after climbing stairs they used to bound up, that's not normal aging. That's their cardiovascular system sending an urgent message. When someone who once gardened for hours can barely manage 30 minutes, their body isn't betraying them with age. It's warning them about declining circulation, possible anemia, or even early heart failure. The medical reality is stark. True normal aging happens gradually over decades, not suddenly over months. Rapid changes in energy, mobility, or cognitive function are red flags that demand investigation, not resignation. Your heart doesn't suddenly become 20% less efficient because you turned 75. Your muscles don't abandon you overnight because of a birthday. The physical consequences of ignoring these warnings are devastating. What begins as manageable fatigue can signal undiagnosed diabetes, thyroid dysfunction, or cardiovascular disease. Left unchecked, these conditions progress from treatable to life-threatening. The woman who dismisses her shortness of breath as just age may be weeks away from a heart attack that proper testing could have prevented. But the emotional toll runs even deeper. When people accept decline as inevitable, they stop fighting for their vitality. They begin planning their lives around limitation rather than possibility. This psychological surrender often accelerates physical deterioration faster than any disease process. The solution lies in becoming your own health detective. Create a simple weekly check-in with yourself. Note changes in energy levels, sleep patterns, appetite, or physical capabilities. Document when activities that were once easy become challenging. This isn't hypochondria, it's intelligent self-advocacy. Most importantly, establish what I call your personal baseline. Know your normal walking speed, how many stairs you can climb comfortably, and how much activity energizes rather than exhausts you. When these benchmarks shift noticeably over weeks rather than years, that's your cue for medical evaluation. While recognizing warning signs is crucial, there's an even more insidious mistake that accelerates decline once those first changes appear. The second critical error that robs seniors of precious years involves what happens when physical challenges first emerge. Research reveals a terrifying pattern. Seniors who completely abandon physical activity after their first injury or health scare face a 40% higher mortality risk within 5 years. Yet this is exactly what millions of older adults do the moment their bodies protest with pain or fatigue. The statistics from my practice are sobering. I regularly encounter individuals who were once remarkably active, tennis players, hikers, swimmers, who now spend their days entirely sedentary because they experienced one fall, one pulled muscle, or one episode of chest tightness during exercise. Their fear of making things worse has paradoxically guaranteed they will get worse. This complete exercise abandonment triggers what exercise physiologists call disuse syndrome, a cascade of deterioration that begins within 72 hours of stopping movement. Your muscles start breaking down protein faster than they build it. Your cardiovascular system begins deconditioning immediately. Bone density starts declining at an accelerated rate that can reach 1 to 2% per month in seniors. The physical destruction is swift and merciless. Within 2 weeks of complete inactivity, Muscle strength drops by 10 to 15%. Balance deteriorates as proprioceptors, those tiny sensors that tell your brain where your body is in space, lose their accuracy. Blood pressure rises as your heart works harder to pump blood through increasingly stiff vessels. Even your metabolism slows, making weight gain inevitable. But the psychological damage cuts deeper than physical decline. Many seniors describe feeling betrayed by bodies that once served them faithfully. They develop what I call movement anxiety, a genuine fear that any physical activity will cause catastrophic injury. This creates a prison of limitation where the fear of falling becomes so overwhelming that they choose guaranteed weakness over potential strength. The solution isn't returning to your former athletic glory. It's embracing what I call intelligent movement restoration. Start with chair exercises that rebuild strength without stressing joints. Simple arm circles, seated marching, and gentle stretching can restart your body's repair processes within days. Progress to supported standing exercises using a sturdy chair or counter for balance. Wall push-ups rebuild upper body strength without floor impact. Walking, even for 5 minutes initially, signals to your cardiovascular system that it's needed again. Most importantly, understand that movement-related discomfort isn't always dangerous. Learn to distinguish between the productive discomfort of muscles reawakening and the sharp pain that signals injury. Your body wants to move. It's designed for movement. Give it gentle permission to remember its capabilities. Yet, even when seniors overcome their fear of movement, they often make a third critical mistake that can be just as deadly as physical inactivity. This error strikes at the very heart of what keeps humans thriving well into their final decades. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to age gracefully, while others deteriorate rapidly, even when their medical profiles appear similar? The answer often lies not in their bodies, but in their connections to other human beings. Social isolation has become an epidemic among seniors, and the medical community now recognizes it as dangerous as smoking 15 cigarettes daily. I witnessed this withdrawal pattern repeatedly. Individuals who once maintained rich social networks gradually pulling away from friends, declining invitations, and eventually spending days without meaningful human contact. The triggers vary widely. Some retreat after losing a spouse, feeling like a third wheel in couple-centered social circles. Others withdraw due to mobility challenges, embarrassment about hearing loss, or simply feeling that they no longer have anything valuable to contribute to conversations. Many assume their friends are too busy with their own families to maintain relationships. What these isolated seniors don't realize is that their brains are literally shrinking from lack of social stimulation. Neuroscience research shows that meaningful social interaction activates multiple brain regions simultaneously, maintaining neural pathways critical for memory, executive function, and emotional regulation. Without regular social engagement, these pathways begin to atrophy within months. The physical consequences extend far beyond the brain. Chronic loneliness triggers persistent inflammation throughout the body, accelerating cellular aging and increasing risk for heart disease, stroke, and autoimmune disorders. The stress hormone cortisol remains chronically elevated in isolated individuals, suppressing immune function and making them significantly more susceptible to infections and slower to heal from injuries. Emotionally, prolonged isolation creates a devastating feedback loop. As people withdraw, they lose confidence in their social skills, making future interactions feel increasingly anxiety-provoking. They begin to interpret neutral social situations negatively, assuming others find them boring or burdensome. This perception becomes self-fulfilling as their decreased social confidence makes interactions genuinely more awkward. Breaking free from isolation requires strategic, gradual reconnection rather than dramatic social overhauls. Start with low-pressure environments where conversation flows naturally around shared activities. Volunteer work provides built-in social interaction while contributing to something meaningful. Religious or spiritual communities often welcome returning members warmly. Consider social prescriptions, structured activities specifically designed to combat isolation. Senior centers, community college classes, walking groups, and hobby clubs create natural opportunities for connection without the pressure of intimate friendship development. Most importantly, recognize that quality trumps quantity in social connections. One or two meaningful relationships where you can be authentically yourself provide more health benefits than dozens of superficial acquaintances. Focus on rekindling relationships that once brought joy rather than forcing connections that feel obligatory. Remember, people generally appreciate others who make the first move toward connection. That call you're hesitating to make or invitation you're afraid to extend is more likely to be welcomed than rejected. Yet even seniors who maintain strong social connections can unknowingly jeopardize their health through a fourth critical mistake that's become increasingly common in our medication-dependent healthcare system. Walk into any senior's home and count the prescription bottles lining their kitchen counter or bathroom cabinet. What you'll find is a pharmaceutical orchestra without a conductor. Multiple medications prescribed by different specialists who rarely communicate with each other, creating a dangerous symphony of drug interactions. The average American over 65 takes between 4 to 6 prescription medications daily, but I frequently encounter patients managing 10, 12, even 15 different pills. Each medication was prescribed for a legitimate reason by a qualified physician, yet together they create a toxic cocktail that's slowly poisoning the very people they're meant to help. This polypharmacy crisis occurs because our healthcare system treats organs in isolation rather than treating the whole person. Your cardiologist prescribes blood pressure medication. Your rheumatologist adds anti-inflammatory drugs. Your psychiatrist includes antidepressants. Your primary care physician manages diabetes medications. None of them see the complete picture of how these drugs interact within your aging body. The pharmacological reality is that senior bodies process medications differently than younger ones. Kidney function typically declines 6 to 10% per decade after age 40, meaning drugs linger longer in your system. Liver metabolism slows, creating buildup of medications that were previously cleared efficiently. Changes in body composition mean drugs distribute differently, often creating higher concentrations than intended. When multiple medications compete for the same metabolic pathways, dangerous interactions become inevitable. Blood thinners combined with certain pain medications can cause internal bleeding. Blood pressure medications layered together can trigger falls from sudden drops in circulation. Seemingly innocent combinations like certain heartburn medications with blood thinners can double bleeding risk. The physical consequences are often misattributed to aging rather than recognized as medication side effects. Dizziness leads to falls and fractures. Cognitive cloudiness gets dismissed as early dementia. Fatigue and weakness are accepted as inevitable decline. Meanwhile, the true culprit, medication overload, continues unchecked. Emotionally, many seniors feel trapped in a medical maze where they're afraid to question their doctors or reduce their medications. They've been taught that more medicine equals better health, not understanding that for aging bodies, less is often more. The fear of having a heart attack or stroke without their medications keeps them compliant, even as those same medications compromise their quality of life. The solution requires becoming an active medication manager rather than a passive pill taker. Schedule an annual medication review with a clinical pharmacist who specializes in geriatric care. Bring every pill, supplement, and over-the-counter medication you take, including doses and timing. Create a comprehensive medication list that includes not just what you take, but why you take it and when it was started. Often, medications prescribed during a specific health crisis continue long after they're needed. Blood pressure medications started during a stressful period might no longer be necessary. Pain medications prescribed after surgery may have continued indefinitely. Ask specific questions about each medication. Is this still necessary? What would happen if I stopped it gradually? Are there non-pharmaceutical alternatives? can the dose be reduced? Request that your doctors communicate with each other about your complete medication profile before adding anything new. Consider working with an integrative physician who understands both pharmaceutical intervention and natural alternatives. Sometimes gentle lifestyle changes can replace medications entirely, while other times strategic medication reduction can dramatically improve your energy and mental clarity. However, even seniors who master their medication management often stumble into a fifth critical error that accelerates cognitive decline faster than almost any other single factor. When did you last learn something completely new? Not just absorbed information passively, but actively challenged your brain with unfamiliar concepts that require genuine mental effort. If you can't remember, you're committing a mistake that's accelerating your cognitive decline more rapidly than almost any other factor. A disturbing trend emerges in my consultations with retired individuals. Former executives, teachers, engineers, and other intellectually accomplished professionals describe their days as increasingly routine and mentally unstimulating. They've traded challenging careers for comfortable passivity, filling their time with television, simple puzzles, or repetitive activities that require minimal cognitive engagement. This intellectual retirement isn't just boring, it's deadly to brain health. Neuroscientists have discovered that the brain operates on a use it or lose it principle far more dramatically than previously understood. When you stop challenging your mind with complex learning, neural networks literally begin pruning themselves away. The very pathways that once made you sharp, creative, and mentally agile start dissolving from disuse. Recent longitudinal studies tracking cognitive function over decades reveal alarming patterns. Individuals who maintain intellectually demanding activities, learning new languages, mastering complex hobbies, engaging in strategic games, or pursuing formal education, show significantly slower rates of cognitive decline. Their brains maintain better connectivity, process information faster, and resist age-related deterioration more effectively. The physical consequences extend beyond memory problems. Unstimulated brains show measurable shrinkage in critical regions responsible for executive function, problem-solving, and emotional regulation. Blood flow to these areas decreases when they're no longer actively engaged. The brain's neuroplasticity, its ability to form new neural connections, diminishes rapidly without regular challenge. Emotionally, intellectual stagnation creates a sense of mental fog that many seniors mistakenly attribute to inevitable aging. They report feeling not as sharp as I used to be, or slower to understand things, not realizing that their mental capacity isn't disappearing, it's simply out of practice. This perceived cognitive decline often leads to anxiety about dementia, creating a cycle of mental withdrawal that accelerates the very problems they fear. The solution lies in systematic brain engagement that goes far beyond crossword puzzles or card games. While these activities provide some benefit, your brain needs the kind of challenge that forces new neural pathway formation. Consider learning a musical instrument, which simultaneously engages memory, motor skills, and auditory processing. Foreign language acquisition creates extensive neural connectivity while opening cultural horizons. Technology offers unprecedented opportunities for intellectual growth. Online university courses allow you to explore subjects that always intrigued you. Digital platforms provide access to expert instruction in everything from photography to philosophy. The key is choosing activities that feel genuinely challenging rather than comfortable. Physical activities that require mental engagement provide dual benefits. Dancing combines physical movement with complex pattern memorization. Chess or bridge clubs offer social interaction alongside strategic thinking. Volunteer teaching positions allow you to share your expertise while learning new communication skills. Most importantly, embrace the discomfort of being a beginner again. That feeling of mental stretch when you're learning something difficult isn't frustration. It's your brain literally growing new connections. Schedule specific times for intellectual challenge just as you would schedule exercise, recognizing that mental fitness requires the same dedication as physical fitness. Yet, even seniors who keep their minds sharp often overlook a sixth critical factor that can undermine all their other health efforts. This mistake happens every single night, and its consequences compound silently over months and years. Picture this. It's 3 a.m., and you're staring at the ceiling again, your mind racing despite your exhausted body. Sound familiar? If you've resigned yourself to poor sleep as an inevitable part of aging, you're making a critical mistake that's shortening your life more than you realize. The most dangerous myth in senior health is that fragmented, poor quality sleep is normal after 60. I hear this resignation constantly from patients who describe years of tossing and turning, frequent wake-ups, and never feeling truly rested. They've accepted insomnia as their new reality, not understanding that quality sleep remains just as essential for survival at 70 as it was at 30. Sleep research reveals devastating truths about what happens when seniors chronically miss restorative sleep cycles. During deep sleep, your brain literally washes itself clean of toxic proteins that accumulate during waking hours, including the amyloid plaques associated with Alzheimer's disease. Without adequate deep sleep, these toxins build up night after night, accelerating cognitive decline and dramatically increasing dementia risk. Your immune system performs its most critical maintenance during sleep, producing infection-fighting cells and antibodies. Sleep-deprived seniors show immune function comparable to much younger people undergoing severe stress. They catch every virus that circulates, heal slowly from injuries, and face significantly higher risks of serious infections. The cardiovascular consequences are equally alarming. Poor sleep triggers chronic inflammation throughout your circulatory system, hardening arteries and increasing blood pressure. Studies tracking seniors over decades show that those averaging less than 6 hours of quality sleep nightly face 48% higher mortality rates than those getting 7 to 8 hours. Physically, sleep deprivation creates a hormonal chaos that accelerates aging. Growth hormone, which repairs tissues and maintains muscle mass, is primarily released during deep sleep. Without it, you lose muscle faster, your skin ages more rapidly, and your bones become more fragile. Blood sugar regulation deteriorates, increasing diabetes risk even in previously healthy individuals. Emotionally, chronic sleep loss creates a downward spiral of mood disorders, anxiety, and depression. Sleep-deprived brains cannot properly regulate emotions, making everyday stresses feel overwhelming. Many seniors incorrectly attribute these mood changes to loneliness or life circumstances, never connecting them to their disrupted sleep patterns. The solution requires understanding that senior sleep architecture changes, but quality sleep remains achievable with proper techniques. Your circadian rhythm naturally shifts with age, making you sleepier earlier and more likely to wake before dawn. Work with this change rather than fighting it by establishing an earlier bedtime routine. Create a sleep sanctuary that addresses age-specific challenges. Temperature regulation becomes more difficult with age, so keep your bedroom cooler than you might prefer when awake. Invest in blackout curtains and white noise machines to counter increased sensitivity to light and sound that develops over time. Address the medical factors that commonly disrupt senior sleep. Enlarged prostates, arthritis pain, acid reflux, and medication side effects all fragment sleep but are often treatable. Review your evening medications with your doctor. Some blood pressure medications and antidepressants can significantly disrupt sleep when taken too late in the day. Develop a wind-down routine that signals your brain to prepare for sleep. Avoid screens for at least 2 hours before bedtime, as blue light suppresses melatonin production more dramatically in older adults. Consider gentle stretching, reading, or meditation to transition from day to night activities. Most importantly, understand that if you're not sleeping well, something specific is wrong, and it's usually fixable. Quality sleep isn't a luxury at your age. It's a non-negotiable requirement for staying alive and thriving. Yet even seniors who master their sleep often make a seventh critical mistake that can undermine all their other health efforts through poor nutritional choices that their aging bodies can no longer tolerate. Open the refrigerator of many seniors living alone, and you'll find a heartbreaking story. Expired condiments, wilted vegetables, and reliance on processed foods that require minimal preparation. This nutritional decline represents one of the most overlooked threats to senior longevity, yet it's happening in kitchens across the country. Nutritional deterioration in seniors often begins subtly. Taste and smell diminish with age, making food less appealing. Decreased appetite becomes common, partly due to hormonal changes and reduced physical activity. Many individuals who once prepared elaborate meals find themselves overwhelmed by grocery shopping, meal planning, and cooking for one. The result is a gradual shift toward convenience foods that provide calories but lack essential nutrients. I frequently encounter seniors whose diets consist primarily of toast, canned soup, frozen dinners, and packaged snacks. They're consuming enough calories to maintain weight, but their bodies are starving for the specific nutrients needed to maintain immune function, muscle mass, and cognitive health. This hidden malnutrition is often missed in routine medical exams because weight and basic lab values appear normal. The aging body requires more precise nutrition, not less. Protein needs actually increase after 60 because older muscles become less efficient at utilizing dietary protein for maintenance and repair. Without adequate high-quality protein, muscle wasting accelerates dramatically. Vitamin B12 absorption decreases with age, yet this vitamin is crucial for nerve function and red blood cell production. Vitamin D deficiency becomes common as skin becomes less efficient at synthesizing it from sunlight. The physical consequences of poor nutrition compound rapidly in senior bodies. Inadequate protein intake triggers sarcopenia, the loss of muscle mass and strength that leads to frailty, falls, and loss of independence. Micronutrient deficiencies weaken immune function, making seniors more susceptible to infections and slower to heal from injuries. Iron deficiency creates fatigue that's often mistakenly attributed to aging rather than correctable nutrition problems. Emotionally, poor nutrition creates a vicious cycle. Nutrient deficiencies can trigger depression and anxiety, which further reduce appetite and motivation to prepare healthy meals. Social aspects of eating disappear when people dine alone on convenience foods, eliminating one of life's great pleasures and opportunities for connection. The solution requires simplifying nutrition rather than complicating it. Focus on nutrient-dense foods that require minimal preparation. Greek yogurt with berries provides high-quality protein and probiotics. Canned salmon offers omega-3 fatty acids and convenient protein. Pre-washed salad greens mixed with rotisserie chicken create complete meals with minimal effort. Batch cooking becomes invaluable for seniors. Prepare large portions of soups, stews, or casseroles on days when energy is high, then freeze individual portions for easy reheating. This ensures access to home-cooked nutrition even on difficult days. Address specific age-related nutritional needs with targeted strategies. Take a high-quality multivitamin to cover basic micronutrient gaps. Consider protein powder added to smoothies or oatmeal to easily increase protein intake. Vitamin D supplementation becomes essential for most seniors, especially those with limited sun exposure. Make eating social again whenever possible. Community senior meals, cooking with friends, or even video calls during dinner can restore the pleasure and motivation that makes proper nutrition sustainable. Most importantly, recognize that good nutrition isn't about perfect eating. It's about consistent choices that fuel your body's ongoing needs. Your nutritional foundation supports every other aspect of health, from energy levels to immune function to cognitive clarity. While proper nutrition provides the building blocks for health, our next critical mistake involves how seniors interact with the healthcare system itself, a relationship that can mean the difference between catching problems early and facing preventable crises. One of the most puzzling patterns I observe is seniors who meticulously maintain their cars, homes, and gardens while completely neglecting their own bodies. They'll schedule regular oil changes but skip annual physicals, maintain detailed home maintenance schedules but avoid medical screenings, and invest thousands in home improvements while refusing basic preventive care. This medical avoidance often stems from a complex mix of fear, denial, and past negative healthcare experiences. Many seniors grew up in an era when medical visits were reserved for emergencies, when toughing it out was considered virtuous, and when diagnostic testing was limited and often uncomfortable. They carry these outdated attitudes into an age when early detection and intervention can literally add decades to their lives. The psychology behind medical avoidance runs deeper than simple fear. Some seniors operate under the dangerous belief that what I don't know can't hurt me, preferring the anxiety of uncertainty to the potential devastation of a serious diagnosis. Others have convinced themselves that they feel fine and therefore don't need medical attention, not understanding that many deadly conditions progress silently for years before symptoms appear. Current medical screening capabilities can detect and address conditions at stages that were impossible to treat just decades ago. Colonoscopies can identify and remove precancerous polyps before they become life-threatening. Mammograms and low-dose CT scans can catch cancers when they're still highly curable. Bone density scans can identify osteoporosis before fractures occur. Blood pressure monitoring can prevent strokes and heart attacks through early intervention. The physical consequences of medical avoidance are often catastrophic. Cancers that could have been easily treated in early stages become metastatic and terminal. High blood pressure silently damages organs until sudden strokes or heart attacks occur. Diabetes progresses undetected until irreversible complications develop. Osteoporosis weakens bones until a simple fall results in life-altering fractures. Perhaps most tragically, many conditions that seniors fear most, like cancer or heart disease, are often preventable or highly treatable when caught early. The very diseases they're trying to avoid by staying away from doctors become inevitable when allowed to progress without intervention. Emotionally, medical avoidance creates a constant undercurrent of anxiety. Deep down, most seniors know they should be getting regular checkups, and this awareness creates persistent stress that can actually accelerate the health problems they're trying to ignore. Family members often become frustrated and worried, creating additional relationship strain. The solution requires reframing medical care from something you do when you're sick to something you do to stay healthy. Schedule regular appointments when you feel well, making them as routine as dental cleanings or eye exams. This removes the emotional weight of each visit and normalizes the healthcare relationship. Prepare for medical appointments by writing down questions in advance and bringing a comprehensive list of all medications and supplements. This preparation helps you feel more in control and ensures important topics aren't forgotten during the visit. Choose healthcare providers who understand senior-specific concerns and communicate clearly about treatment options. You deserve doctors who explain procedures thoroughly, respect your questions, and involve you in decision-making rather than simply issuing orders. Consider bringing a trusted friend or family member to important appointments. Having an advocate present can help you process information better and remember important details discussed during the visit. Most importantly, understand that avoiding medical care doesn't prevent health problems. It just ensures that when problems do arise, they'll be more advanced and harder to treat. Proactive healthcare engagement gives you the best chance of maintaining independence and vitality throughout your later years. Yet even seniors who maintain excellent relationships with their healthcare providers often struggle with a ninth critical mistake that can undermine all their physical health efforts through a devastating loss of psychological wellness. The most heartbreaking conversations in my practice often begin with variations of the same devastating question: what's the point anymore? These words come from accomplished individuals who once led teams, built businesses, raised families, and contributed meaningfully to their communities, but now feel invisible and irrelevant in a world that seems to have moved on without them. This existential crisis strikes particularly hard among highly accomplished seniors who derive their identity and self-worth from professional achievement. After decades of structured days filled with important decisions and meaningful responsibilities, retirement can feel like exile from relevance. The phones stop ringing with urgent requests. Former colleagues stop seeking advice. The daily sense of being needed and valued simply vanishes. Research from Harvard's longitudinal studies reveals that seniors with a strong sense of purpose live significantly longer than those who feel their lives lack meaning. The data is striking. Individuals who report high levels of life purpose show 44% lower rates of stroke, 27% reduced risk of heart disease, and maintain cognitive function more effectively as they age. Purpose, it turns out, is not just psychological comfort, it's a biological necessity. The physical manifestations of purposelessness are measurable and alarming. When people lose their sense of meaning, stress hormones remain chronically elevated, triggering widespread inflammation throughout the body. This inflammatory state accelerates cellular aging, weakens immune function, and increases susceptibility to virtually every major disease of aging. The body literally begins breaking down when the mind can't find reasons to keep fighting. Sleep patterns deteriorate when days lack structure and meaning. Appetite often diminishes as the simple pleasure of meals loses significance. Energy levels plummet not from physical exhaustion, but from psychological depletion. Many seniors describe feeling tired despite doing very little, not understanding that purposelessness is one of the most draining states the human psyche can endure. Emotionally, the loss of purpose creates a cascade of negative psychological changes. Self-esteem erodes as people question whether their lifetime of contributions mattered. Social connections weaken as they assume others find them boring or burdensome. Depression often follows, not as a character flaw, but as a natural response to feeling disconnected from meaningful engagement with the world. The solution requires understanding that purpose in later life doesn't have to replicate the intensity or scope of earlier career achievements. It needs to be meaningful to you, not impressive to others. Many find renewed purpose in mentoring younger people, sharing decades of accumulated wisdom with those just starting their journeys. Volunteer work provides structure and significance while addressing real community needs. Whether it's reading to children, supporting food banks, or helping with disaster relief, contributing to something larger than yourself rekindles the sense of being valued and needed. Creative pursuits that were set aside during busy career years can become sources of deep satisfaction. Writing memoirs, painting, music, or crafts provide both personal fulfillment and potential legacy creation. Many discover talents they never knew they possessed when freed from the demands of earning a living. Consider becoming an advocate for causes that matter to you. Your decades of life experience provide valuable perspective on social issues, environmental concerns, or community problems. Your voice carries weight that younger advocates often lack. Most importantly, recognize that your purpose may be quieter, but no less significant than it once was. Being the person others can rely on for wisdom, comfort, or simply consistent presence is a profound contribution. Sometimes purpose looks like being the grandmother who really listens, the neighbor who checks on others, or the friend who remembers birthdays and offers encouragement. Purpose at this stage of life isn't about proving your worth. It's about using your accumulated wisdom and experience to make whatever corner of the world you touch a little better. That contribution, however modest it might seem, provides the meaning that keeps both your spirit and your body thriving. Yet even seniors who maintain strong purpose and meaning in their lives often make one final critical mistake that can undermine all their other health efforts, a mistake involving the most intimate aspects of human connection and physical vitality. The final and perhaps most devastating mistake that robs seniors of vitality involves something our culture rarely discusses openly: the gradual abandonment of physical intimacy and meaningful touch. This isn't just about sexual activity. It's about the complete withdrawal from the tender, connecting touches that once sustained relationships and nourished both body and soul. Countless couples describe how health scares, medication changes, or physical discomfort gradually eroded their intimate connection until they essentially became caring roommates. Many singles report feeling that physical intimacy is no longer appropriate or possible at their age. Both groups unknowingly sacrifice one of the most powerful tools for maintaining health, happiness, and longevity. The medical research on this topic is unequivocal. Physical intimacy and regular loving touch provide measurable health benefits that extend far beyond emotional satisfaction. Intimate physical contact releases oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, which reduces blood pressure, lowers stress hormones, and strengthens immune function. Regular intimate activity maintains hormonal balance, preserves cardiovascular health, and even supports cognitive function through increased blood flow to the brain. Touch deprivation creates a cascade of negative physiological changes that accelerate aging. Without regular intimate contact, testosterone and estrogen levels decline more rapidly than natural aging alone would cause. Stress hormones remain chronically elevated without the soothing effects of loving touch. Blood circulation diminishes to intimate areas, creating a downward spiral where decreased function leads to further avoidance. The physical consequences extend throughout the entire body. Couples who maintain intimate physical relationships show better cardiovascular health, stronger immune systems, and lower rates of depression compared to those who become physically distant. Even non-sexual intimate touch, cuddling, massage, hand-holding, provides significant health benefits that medication cannot replicate. Emotionally, the loss of physical intimacy often marks the beginning of relationship deterioration, even in previously strong partnerships. Partners begin to feel more like siblings than lovers, creating emotional distance that affects every aspect of their connection. Self-esteem suffers as individuals internalize the message that their bodies are no longer desirable or capable of giving and receiving pleasure. The solution requires understanding that intimacy at this stage of life looks different than it did in younger years, but it can be equally meaningful and beneficial. Physical changes don't eliminate the possibility of intimate connection. They simply require patience, creativity, and communication. Start with non-sexual intimate touch to rebuild physical connection without performance pressure. Regular massage, cuddling while watching television, holding hands during walks, and sleeping close together all provide oxytocin release and emotional bonding. These simple touches often naturally rekindle desire for deeper intimacy. Address medical barriers honestly and proactively. Many conditions affecting intimate function are treatable with proper medical support. Vaginal dryness, erectile dysfunction, arthritis pain, and medication side effects all have solutions when discussed openly with healthcare providers who understand senior sexuality. Redefine intimacy to focus on connection rather than performance. Intimate encounters don't require the intensity or duration of younger years to be satisfying and beneficial. Gentle exploration, extended foreplay, and emotional connection often become more important than achieving specific physical outcomes. Create intimate environments that account for physical changes. Comfortable temperatures, supportive pillows, adequate lighting, and privacy all become more important with age. Schedule intimate time when energy levels are highest, rather than defaulting to bedtime when fatigue may interfere. Most importantly, communicate openly about desires, concerns, and changes with your partner or potential partners. Many seniors avoid intimacy based on assumptions about their partner's disinterest or their own inadequacy, when honest conversation might reveal mutual desire to reconnect. Remember that your need for intimate connection doesn't expire with age, it simply evolves. Embracing this evolution rather than mourning what was lost opens the door to forms of intimacy that can be profoundly satisfying and health-enhancing throughout your remaining years. Your body, your relationships, and your spirit all deserve the nourishment that comes from meaningful physical connection. It's never too late to reclaim this essential aspect of human vitality, and doing so may be one of the most powerful steps you can take toward thriving well past 82 and beyond.